You know, usually when you stand on the sidewalk and look up at a massive skyscraper, you don't even think about the thousands of tons of steel and concrete buried underground.
Right. You're just looking at the glass.
Exactly. You just marvel at the glass facade. But if you step into the world of modern software development, that invisible infrastructure isn't just supporting the building anymore.
Yes, doing a lot more.
It's actively shifting, adapting, and like predicting what the people inside actually need. And exploring that invisible digital foundation is our mission for this deep dive today.
It's a huge topic.
It is. So for you listening, whether you're an entrepreneur hiring a dev team or a professional updating your tech skills, or just, insanely curious about what makes your favorite apps run so smoothly, we are looking squarely at the cutting-edge landscape of website and mobile app development in the year 2026.
And we have a really solid blueprint to work from for this.
Yeah, we're analyzing a real-world blueprint today, specifically the tech stack and strategic playbook of AshVeda Global Technologies, along with the architectural deep dives from the YouTube channel of its associated developer, Ashish Srivastava. Okay. Let's unpack this blueprint.
The timing on examining AshVeda's specific approach is highly relevant, actually.
Yeah.
If you look at the raw stats from the sources, they have over 2 years of intensive operation in this specific post-AI era.
Which is like a lifetime in tech right now.
I mean, exactly. And with 50-plus complex projects deployed, plus a roster of over 40 active clients, it gives us a highly concentrated data set.
Right.
We aren't just looking at theoretical computer science here. We are looking at the trenches. We can extract the exact frameworks that are, surviving contact with real user demands today.
So let's start with the heavy hitter on the web development side of AshVeda's operation. Their engineering blogs make it explicitly clear that React remains the absolute core of their tech stack.
Yep, React is still king for them.
And I have to push back on this immediately. I mean, React was originally developed and open sourced by Facebook well over a decade ago.
It's been around a while, yeah.
In software years, that makes it basically a dinosaur, a legacy system. So I look at an agency heavily relying on React in 2026, and I wonder if they're just like continually bolting new turbochargers onto a vintage car engine instead of just buying a modern electric vehicle.
The vintage car criticism, yeah, that comes up often.
Right. Am I crazy for thinking that? Are we just clinging to an old paradigm because it's what the senior developers already know?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the criticism fundamentally misunderstands how the React core team manages architectural evolution. It is closer to the ship of Theseus.
Oh, interesting analogy.
Yeah, because the React we are looking at in AshVeda's 2026 stack shares a name with the 2015 version, but the execution context has shifted entirely. We're looking at an ecosystem heavily dependent on React Server Components, or RSC.
Okay, wait, so how does that change things fundamentally?
Well, it's not just a minor update to how the virtual DOM calculates changes. By shifting component rendering to the server side, you're essentially streaming the UI directly to the client.
Yeah.
You basically bypass sending massive JavaScript bundles to the browser entirely.
Wait, really? So the client device is doing almost zero heavy lifting?
Exactly.
It's just like receiving a fully realized instruction set rather than calculating the interface elements on the fly while I'm trying to load the page.
You've hit the nail on the head regarding the performance delta. I mean, when AshVeda integrates this with frameworks like Next.js, they're targeting the specific metric of time to interactive.
Which is crucial for business.
Oh, absolutely. For an e-commerce client, if the browser is forced to download, parse, and execute megabytes of JavaScript before the buy button becomes clickable, you bleed conversions.
People just leave.
Right. Server-side rendering feeds the browser fully baked HTML. The Google crawlers can read the page instantly, which just skyrockets the SEO rankings, and the user gets a sub-second interactive experience.
Wow. And the sources detail how they are pairing this highly optimized React environment with AI-assisted development tools.
I do, yeah.
But I want to look past the generic idea of just like AI writing code. The real engineering leverage here seems to be in how AI tools are optimizing complex state management.
Like with Redux toolkits and Tailwind CSS.
Exactly. The AI isn't just generating boilerplate HTML, it's actually predicting the user's navigational path and optimizing the data flow.
It's proactive.
Yeah, so that when a state changes, say, a user adds an item to a cart, the localized update happens without triggering a cascading re-render of the entire application.
And that optimization is honestly where the profit margins lie for a development agency today. The AI tools are acting as a continuous refactoring engine.
Identifying redundant re-renders.
Yeah, identifying them in the React tree in real time. By utilizing these tools, developers at AshVeda aren't bogged down in the minutiae of garbage collection or debugging state inconsistencies.
They're freed up to do the big stuff.
Right. They are operating as architectural directors, letting the AI handle the micro-optimizations while they focus on the broader application flow.
Which transitions us perfectly into how they're structuring that broader application flow because, rendering a fast interface on a screen is totally meaningless if the data pipeline feeding it is brittle.
Very true.
Modern users, they expect their browser experiences to basically mirror the performance of a native app on their operating system. And to deliver that app-like latency in a browser, AshVeda relies heavily on progressive web apps.
PWAs, yeah. They highlight those in their top 10 web development trends in 2026.
Right. But PWAs require a backend that can instantly scale and serve data to completely unpredictable offline and online states, which brings us to their use of headless CMS and serverless architecture.
Yeah, the shift to headless is perhaps the most critical architectural decision a modern agency makes. The traditional monolithic approach.
Where everything is tied together?
Yeah, where the database, the server logic, and the user interface are tightly coupled. It's just a massive liability today. If one component fails under a traffic spike, the entire application goes offline.
See, I always try to visualize headless CMS as like a restaurant.
Okay, I like this.
So in a monolithic application, it's like a tiny diner. The kitchen and the dining room are one single connected unit. But a headless CMS is like a massive restaurant where the back end is completely physically detached from the dining room.
Right.
The chefs can cook the data, and it can be served to a drive-thru, a fancy dining room, or a delivery app simultaneously without ever changing how the kitchen operates.
That analogy perfectly captures the essence of API-first development. AshVeda's stack utilizes this decoupling to build micro front-end architectures.
Oh, so breaking the front end into smaller pieces, too.
Exactly. When they deploy a project on Amazon Web Services using a serverless model, they aren't provisioning static servers that just sit idle overnight. They deploy discrete, independent functions.
So it's incredibly efficient.
Very. If the user authentication module experiences a sudden surge in traffic, AWS automatically spins up thousands of instances of that specific function to handle the load without scaling up the rest of the application.
The infrastructure scales horizontally based on granular demand. From a business continuity standpoint, that is bulletproof.
It really is.
If the payment gateway API goes down, it doesn't crash the product catalog UI. The micro front end isolates the failure. But here's the major bottleneck I see with this approach.
Okay, lay it on me.
The headless API can feed data anywhere, sure. And a progressive web app can masquerade as a native app on a laptop perfectly. But when you move to the mobile ecosystem, Apple and Google still heavily gatekeep their hardware.
That walled garden problem.
Exactly. A browser-based PWA still struggles to get low-level, zero-latency access to a smartphone's biometric enclaves or specific camera APIs. To get that, you have to build a dedicated, downloaded mobile app.
Yeah, the walled garden problem is unavoidable. User habits dictate that for complex, daily use tools, they want to download an app from the App Store or Google Play.
Right.
They want native push notifications, background processing, and immediate hardware access. This is where an agency really has to bridge the gap between their agile web architecture and the rigid demands of mobile ecosystems.
And AshVeda's chosen bridge for this, which is heavily featured in their mobile app development services, is Flutter.
Yep, Flutter is their secret weapon.
So what does this all mean? Let's really analyze this. Flutter allows developers to write a single code base in Dart and compile it for both iOS and Android simultaneously, but I have to play devil's advocate here again.
Go for it.
Historically, the cross-platform approach is the spork of app development.
The spork. That's a good one.
Right. A spork is functional, it gets food into your mouth, but it is neither a highly precision-engineered spoon nor a razor-sharp fork. By compiling for two distinct operating systems simultaneously, aren't you inevitably sacrificing the native optimization, the fluid animation frame rates, and the bespoke UI patterns that users expect from iOS or Android?
The spork criticism was entirely valid for early cross-platform tools that relied on invisible web views to render UI.
When it was basically just a website in a wrapper.
Exactly. They were essentially running a sluggish browser inside an app. But if we connect this to the bigger picture and examine how Flutter operates mechanically, it completely dismantles that analogy.
Oh, really? How so?
Flutter doesn't use web views. And it doesn't even translate its code into native iOS or Android UI components. It ships with its own high-performance rendering engine called Impeller.
Wait, it has its own engine?
Yes, it paints every pixel directly to the screen using the device's GPU. When AshVeda builds a complex animation in Flutter, it isn't waiting for a bridge to ask iOS how to draw a shadow. The Flutter engine renders the shadow itself at a locked 60 or 120 frames per second.
Oh, wow. So it bypasses the middleman entirely. It's functioning closer to how, like, a high-end video game engine works on a phone, controlling the pixel output directly.
Precisely.
Let's look at how they apply this engine to real-world complexity, because the app templates outlined in AshVeda's portfolio are incredibly dense. Take their Smart Diary, Task, and Family Sync app.
Oh yeah, that one is packed.
It's not a lightweight to-do list. The sources detail real-time family collaboration utilizing unique invite codes, a robust medicine reminder system, and biometric protection for private notes.
And the most technically demanding feature in that specific app is the scan and convert module.
The camera thing.
Yeah, the user activates the phone's camera, scans physical text, and the app instantly runs optical character recognition OCR to convert it into a digital task. Doing this fluidly without frame drops requires direct, low-level access to the camera hardware and local machine learning models.
And this is exactly where the cross-platform debate gets real for me. How does a single code base in a Flutter app intelligently call Apple's Vision framework on an iPhone, but tap into Google's ML kit on a Pixel without massive latency?
They mitigate the latency by pairing the Flutter front end with a highly optimized Firebase backend.
Ah, Firebase.
Right. The sources explicitly note that these complex Flutter templates are Firebase integration ready. Firebase provides the abstraction layer.
So it handles the translation.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
When the app requests a biometric authentication or an ML process, Flutter uses platform channels, which are basically secure tunnels, to trigger the native code asynchronously.
Oh, I see.
Because Firebase handles all the heavy lifting of authentication, real-time database syncing, and push notifications natively, the Flutter layer remains incredibly lightweight. It's not a compromise. It's a consolidation of developer effort that doesn't punish the user's phone.
Okay, so you write the business logic once, but you still leverage the raw metal of the device when you need to. That perfectly explains another template they have, the Digital Court Diary app in their portfolio. It's an app for lawyers tracking hearings, but the defining feature is a hierarchical team management system.
The role-based access control.
Right. You have super admins, editors, viewers. Implementing that securely on a mobile device is notoriously difficult because, you can never trust the client-side code. A user could theoretically hack the local app to give themselves admin privileges.
Which is why the Firebase integration is the linchpin there. The role-based access control isn't evaluated on the device at all.
It's on the server.
It's evaluated by the security rules in the Firebase database.
Yeah.
The Flutter app simply asks for the data. If the user's authenticated token doesn't have the editor role encoded into it, the server silently drops the request. The client app never even sees the restricted data.
That's brilliant.
AshVeda is demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of distributed security here. They are moving the trust boundary completely away from the user's device and firmly into the serverless cloud.
Okay, this is bringing all the architectural pieces together for me. We have the React server components streaming lightning-fast web interfaces. We have the headless APIs distributing data globally. And the Flutter engine delivering native mobile experiences backed by Firebase.
It's a very complete puzzle.
And we can actually see this full-stack convergence in AshVeda's deployed projects. The sources detail a digital trading journal they built. It utilizes an AI assistant to actively analyze a trader's profit and loss patterns and offer actionable discipline suggestions.
And a project like that requires enormous throughput.
Right, the data crunching.
Ingesting financial data, running it through a localized AI model, and visualizing the analytics on a dashboard without lag. That requires the exact Next.js and Node.js backend infrastructure we've been dissecting.
And Ashish Srivastava's YouTube channel literally physically demonstrates this plumbing. The channel isn't just marketing fluff. It features live coding demos of full-stack Next.js e-commerce platforms with complete admin panels.
Yeah, and the modern library management system, too.
Exactly, a library management system that handles payments and dashboard analytics. He is showing the ecosystem in action. But here's where it gets really interesting, and it kind of forces us to look at the broader business strategy of a 2026 tech agency.
You mean the diversification of their service offerings?
Exactly. The source material lists a wide array of services that have absolutely nothing to do with writing software.
Oh, yeah.
AshVeda offers SEO strategy, brand identity design, and attention-grabbing ad video creation. They even design ATS-optimized resumes using a complex code-based formatting tool called Overleaf.
It's quite the mix.
It is. So why is an agency capable of building AI trading algorithms, spending time formatting resumes, or cutting social media ads? Are they actually software developers, or are they just a modern business consultancy wearing a developer's trench coat?
That's a great question. But honestly, the distinction between a developer and a business consultant has completely dissolved in 2026.
Really? You think so?
Absolutely. The code itself is rapidly becoming a commodity. The fact that they use Overleaf for resumes is actually the perfect example of this.
How so?
Well, Overleaf uses LaTeX, a typesetting system. Why would they offer that? Because they understand the parser algorithms used by applicant tracking systems. They aren't just making a document look pretty.
They're engineering it for a machine.
Precisely.
Mm.
They are reverse engineering the hiring software's data ingestion pipeline to ensure their client gets past the automated filters. They are applying algorithmic thinking to a human problem.
Oh, wow. So it's all about the final outcome, not the tool used to get there.
Exactly. Knowledge applied to solve a business problem.
Because you can build the most elegant, highly optimized React headless architecture in the world. But if nobody visits the site, the code is worthless.
Wow.
And the client testimonials and the sources really back this up.
They do.
Ruchika Sharma praises their design execution speed, but Mahika Sen specifically points out that AshVeda delivered a scalable foundation from day one. They are selling infrastructure that generates revenue.
That's the real product.
Right. They understand that a beautifully built Flutter app is just a vehicle. The actual destination is user retention and data-driven visibility.
And that is the critical takeaway for anyone navigating the tech landscape today. You cannot just be a coder anymore.
The bar has been raised.
If your only skill is writing functional React components, you will be replaced by the very AI tools AshVeda is utilizing. The value of an agency today lies in systems thinking.
Looking at the whole board.
Yes, looking at a client's core bottleneck, whether that is a slow mobile app, poor search rankings, or a chaotic internal database, and mapping the correct sequence of serverless functions, Flutter widgets, and SEO strategies to eliminate that bottleneck.
Which completely redefines the standard you should demand if you are hiring an agency, or the standard you need to meet if you are building this yourself. So let's look back at the digital blueprint we've extracted today. We established that React, particularly through Next.js, is the unbreakable foundation of the web right now. We explored how the central nervous system of headless CMS and serverless APIs allows a single database to simultaneously power PWAs and third-party integrations without breaking a sweat.
And we also dissected how Flutter is the agile engine for mobile dominance.
Bypassing the old Spork limitations.
Exactly. By leveraging its own rendering engine and offloading complex hardware requests to Firebase, it delivers a genuinely native experience across iOS and Android from a single codebase.
It is a phenomenal tech stack designed for pure agility. Whether you are an entrepreneur vetting a development team or a professional upgrading your skills, you now know the standard to demand. So with all this immense architectural power at our fingertips, I want to pass it to you.
Yeah, we have to ask the listener, what stands out to you? When you look at the apps you use every single day, can you spot where the web ends and the native hardware begins?
The lines are blurring faster than most people realize.
They truly are.
And that leaves us with one final lingering thought to explore on your own. We discussed how AshVeda is heavily integrating AI tools to write code, debug state management, and generate React components dynamically.
You did.
We also saw their AI trading journal actively analyzing human patterns. If artificial intelligence is now capable of suggesting UI improvements, fixing critical backend bugs in real time, and provisioning serverless architecture on command, at what point does the role of the human developer transition completely into simply being an editor of AI-generated architecture?
It's a huge shift.
As we push further past 2026, ponder what the true definition of a software engineer will become when that massive skyscraper we talked about earlier finally learns how to build itself.